Welcome to the Bravo Papers, a safe space for all us Bravo fans who love to analyze, deconstruct, and talk about our favorite Bravo shows ad nauseum. So join me, Bravo and Botox, and we'll catch up on all the Bravo news and read way too much into our favorite shows and Bravo celebrities. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Bravo Papers, Bravo Weekly News, here to bring you all your Bravo tea, gossip, all that good stuff. And I hope you all had a great Halloween, because I haven't talked to you since before then. It was very busy around here. You know, I live in a very busy full of kids neighborhood, so we had a lot of action, to the point where I couldn't even watch Real Housewives of Orange County until Saturday because I had work stuff going on, Friday during the day. I had, meetings in the evening, and then Saturday I had a migraine all day and I didn't get to recording till Saturday night. And then here I am. On Saturday night. I just recorded my Patreon. Now I'm recording this. Normally I record this on Sunday, but I am going to be a guest on another podcast tomorrow. So I'm recording that tomorrow. So hopefully no other big, I probably just jinxed it just even starting that sentence. I was going to say, but hopefully no other big Bravo news, pops off on Sunday, but it probably will because that's my luck, right? I'm like, oh, I'll try to get ahead. I'll record Saturday night. So I have, time on Sunday for being a guest. I will let you know whose podcast I'm a guest on. I don't want to say it until we've already recorded because this, if you do, then something happens, someone gets sick, or there's some scheduling thing and then it gets postponed. I don't want to get people thinking, oh, I have another extra episode next week, and then it gets delayed. So once it's out, I'll definitely be sharing it all over my Instagram, and I'll remind you guys about it next week as well. But I'm excited, very excited to be a guest on this podcast. It is someone who I've had on my podcast as well. So looking forward to that. We will be discussing, everything Housewives and Bravo. So yeah, that'll be a good extra content for you all this week. And maybe you will discover a new podcast that you like. And we love that, because if you're a podcast listener, discovering a new podcast that you love is it's like Christmas. Like, you get to just, whenever I find a new one that I love, then you get to go back and you can binge and you have all these episodes. It's the best. It's like a gift, the gift that keeps on giving. So listen, we're going to start with Salt Lake City because there's a lot going on with Salt Lake City off the show. Okay. So some of you may have seen this floating around this weekend, but basically Bronwyn is kind of having it out with a Bravo content creator by the name of Bravo and Blaze. And what happened is, it's an interesting story. So basically, on the Bravo after show, there was a clip of, Lisa Barlow discussing the whole, kind of messy situation with Bronwyn's daughter and her grandparents. And in the clip, Lisa makes a claim about the grandparents, Gwen's grandparents, not knowing really that Gwen existed and thinking that Bronwyn had had a miscarriage. Kind of the implication is that that was what they were told by Bronwyn, or I guess Gwen's deceased father, who obviously cannot speak on this. Okay. So let's start with, I'm going to play the clip, because this clip from BravoTV.com from the after show has now been deleted and replaced with a different clip. And I will play you both of them. Let me just get it. Okay. Sorry, I thought I had it ready, but now it was on my Instagram story, but now it's been more than 24 hours. So I was just going there to get it and it's gone. So let me go to my story archives so that I can play it for you all. I'm going to play you the clip that was originally posted and then what was posted instead. Okay, so here we go.
conversation with Gwen's grandmother, and she's like, we're open to meeting her. We're excited. Show me pictures. They're not like really into social media, so they didn't even know where they could find either one of them. She really didn't know anything, and she's like, the last we were told, you know, Bronwyn had a miscarriage and there was no child. And then her son, who passed away, his wife, reached out to Bronwyn, and she's like, but we never got to meet Gwen. So it was like really upsetting for them. I think overwhelming for Bronwyn and Gwen. So I like treaded really light.
Okay, so that's it. So a couple things from that clip is the biggest thing being the miscarriage. So it's like we're kind of putting this idea, or Lisa Barlow is, out for the grandparents that the reason they have not, or maybe the reason they have not made contact with Gwen all these years is because they were under the impression, or last they heard, quote unquote, Bronwyn had had a miscarriage. And the only place that they could hear that from is Bronwyn or their now deceased son. And he is conveniently, like, I'm not saying conveniently as in like I was saying there's foul play, but he, if they're using this as an excuse for their behavior, there's no one who can kind of correct that, right? Because he's not here anymore. So he can't be like, no, mom, dad, I never told you that, right? So they could say, well, he told us that. And it's their word against a guy who is deceased, right? So there's that. Now there's also his wife. So, he got married, whenever later in life. And his new wife, as Lisa Barlow says in the clip, his new wife was saying, oh, we really wanted to meet Gwen. Like, this is according to Lisa Barlow, we really wanted to meet Gwen, etc., which sort of contradicts, it kind of contradicts the miscarriage story. I guess maybe that could have been said after they found out that she didn't have a miscarriage. Listen, I don't believe Lisa Barlow in this case. I'm going to get into that more. But here's the new clip that was posted in replacement of that clip. So that clip was taken down last night, and then a new clip was posted.
Would you please talk to his parents and let them know, like, Gwen would be open to meeting them? Lisa and I feel differently about how that happened. Lisa told me she knew them, and Lisa kept telling me how wonderful they were and that she was convinced that they would want to have met Gwen. And I was, and will always be convinced that they are not interested in meeting Gwen. So I don't know that I gave her permission to offer, but I made it very clear that she could if the moment was right. The next day, I get a text from Bronwyn and Gwen, and they're like, could you please talk to his parents and let them know, like, Gwen would be open to meeting them?
Okay, so basically, sorry, the clip started again. But basically, I guess Bronwyn is saying that, like, you can bring it up if the moment is right. And Lisa's making it out like it was like they asked her, can you talk to them and try to convince them to meet Gwen? And Bronwyn says in the clip, like, well, we don't really disagree on the way that conversation went. So I guess it's somewhat a matter of interpretation. But, the important part here is that the original clip went up, and Bravo and Blaze, who's a Bravo content creator and podcaster, reacted to it. And they basically were like, kind of implying with their tweet that Bronwyn is maybe lying, or that, she purposefully left out the part about the miscarriage, and that, it seems like they're kind of taking Lisa Barlow's word, like as though like Lisa Barlow's telling the truth about this miscarriage thing. And they're kind of assuming that, yeah, that is what happened. And Bronwyn did lie about this. And, you know, Bronwyn's daughter is going to find out that her mother like lied the whole time about her even existing, and et cetera, et cetera. So Bronwyn got upset about this, and she reacted to Bravo and Blaze, and she sent them a very long DM, but basically saying that, she has evidence that this is all a lie, that she never said anything about a miscarriage. They knew Gwen existed. They are not like, incompetent when it comes to social media. She has like screenshots and receipts that they have been on social media. They've always known Gwen existed. It's been their choice not to have a relationship with her, and like to basically please not be posting this stuff because it's harmful to her daughter. And her daughter was sent one of the tweets and people kept asking her about it and she's upset by it. That's basically everything in a nutshell. And I mean, I think, if you want my opinion, which I'm assuming you do, because that's why you're here, um, the grandparents are lying. Like, to me, this is so obvious that, like, I don't think, in my opinion, this isn't like a big conspiracy by Bronwyn. And I'm not just saying that because, like, I enjoy Bronwyn on the show. I just really think this is a very convenient narrative for Lisa and the grandparents, because Lisa has now fallen out with Bronwyn, and all of a sudden she's not being like as supportive as she was before. She's fallen out with Bronwyn. She doesn't like Bronwyn anymore. She even, and I even have this as a news item, has done an interview saying she's never bringing on any of her friends on this show again because it always goes to shit. So she's clearly pissed, and she's all of a sudden talking shit, as you know, Lisa does. So there's that. And then there's also the fact that, of course, the grandparents are going to say this because this absolves them of all responsibility. Like, to me, this is the grandparents being like, well, we're going to look like monsters, which they do. We're going to look like monsters who, you know, punished an innocent baby and child for something that was not their fault. So let's just say that we didn't know she existed. And if Bronwyn calls us on it and was like, no, I never said that there was a miscarriage, well, we can just say that that's what our son gave us that impression. Like, I'm sorry, but this is the grandparents covering their asses because they know they made a mistake by denying this grandchild. And I believe Bronwyn that I don't think they really give a shit and want that much to do with Gwen now. It's more like they're just worried about, like, quote unquote looking bad. And now they have found out that Bronwyn's on this show and they of course have a relationship with Lisa. So their way to put out their narrative to the world and defend themselves is through, guess what, guys? Lisa Barlow, right? So I don't know, the whole idea that like Bronwyn is like lying about, like, I can't buy into that. Like, I just don't believe that. That's my opinion. And I just think that the grandparents are the real villains here that are, you know, really causing more pain to Gwen. Like, all around, this is causing Gwen more pain, the daughter. And you guys did a shitty thing and you suck. And what you should be doing is kind of saying, you know what, we made a mistake. We let the, you know, our appearances and our standing in the Mormon community and our worry that people were going to like judge us, etc. Like, we put that ahead of doing the right thing by being like a part of this child's life, etc. We fucked up. It's been a long time. We've realized we made a mistake. Losing our son gave us new perspective on life, like whatever. There are so many ways that they could have approached this, but instead these are assholes who, in my opinion, you know, don't seem like they even give a shit about doing the right thing or making it right. And I don't think that they think that they're wrong. I mean, they must think they're a little wrong because they're making up this miscarriage thing, but I really think that this is them making it up. So on that note, the other thing that's going on is that, like, Lisa Barlow is saying in interviews that she is done recommending friends. So again, this is like, to me, another reason why I'm not, like, Lisa Barlow should not even be speaking on this. Like, yes, they deleted this from bravotv.com and they put up the new clip, and I'm sure it's because Bronwyn asked them to. Again, I don't think that proves it's a big conspiracy. I think it just, you know, or that like Bronwyn runs the show. I just think it's that Bronwyn was like, this is really hurting my daughter, like this lie. Can you please take this down? And they probably did, which I'm glad they did. And now we have the new clip. And here's the thing, though, you know, like, Lisa Barlow just shouldn't have been speaking on that. Like, even if the grandparents were like, can you please tell everyone that we thought it was a miscarriage? And even let's just pretend for a second that Lisa Barlow is completely innocent and she's just taking the grandparents at their word and she really believed that they thought it was a miscarriage, which I don't think she does. I think she knows about this. or knows that they're lying about that. I do think that Lisa Barlow should have just shut her mouth and should have never been talking about this, because this isn't like who got a boob job or like some, whatever housewife storyline. This is about a kid whose father denied them. And like, this is a more heavy thing that I just don't think Lisa should have been talking about. Okay. So apparently Lisa says that, it didn't take long for Lisa and Bronwyn to basically not be friends. And Lisa says that she feels Bronwyn has flipped on her. So she says that she's done recommending friends. So this is according to the Reality Tea website. She's done recommending friends because the common denominator is usually hating me. Lisa, maybe you're the problem. like, like, I'm not saying like that Lisa Barlow is like 100% always in the wrong in every situation, but like maybe if you have a problem maintaining friends through this show, like, or in general, like maybe that's a you problem. I don't know. Okay. So basically, Lisa and Bronwyn's feud started when Bronwyn made fun of Whitney in front of Lisa and Heather Gay. And then, of course, Heather went and told Whitney immediately, but Bronwyn had already beat her to the punch. And Bronwyn felt Lisa didn't have her back. So we all saw them get into a fight over that. And Bryce Sander from ET asked Lisa, you were Bronwyn's connection to this group. Any regrets about bringing her into it? And Lisa replied, I don't think I'll ever recommend anyone again. Okay. So she continued, I recommended hundreds and I think I'm going to stop. There's a common denominator and it's usually hating me. So we're done. Yeah. Okay. So there you go. Lisa added, and I feel like she wanted to stick it to me and Heather, but like your issue is with Heather, but your issue should really be with yourself because you just got called out for what you didn't say. Okay. So listen, it's all just a big mess, but I just see Lisa as the type, and a lot of them are this type, but I do see Lisa Barlow as the type that will put out things that are an exaggerated truth or a lie to deflect from her own shit. And Lisa does have her own shit going on. Like, I just think that that's her thing. Okay. So let's go to the next thing. Let's talk about Real Housewives of Orange County, of course, because Shannon Storms Bedore made an appearance on the Nick Viall podcast, to which she was welcomed with a warm applause. She discusses a few things, but some of the key kind of takeaways is she discusses Joel Kim Booster's rant about her and basically said the cast was shocked when they read his comments. And she says that Giselle, Luann, and Ashley have all been very supportive of her and that, she was kind of blindsided and shocked by it. She also says that she's not speaking to Tamra. Their relationship will never be the same and that there's no way back. She does say that the reunion kind of went in it went in a way that she wasn't expecting, but she doesn't think that there's any way for them to go back to, where they were at one point. She also says that, she's working on herself. She's having therapy, continuing therapy, and that she can't be in toxic relationships or relationships that don't like lend itself to her healing. And obviously a relationship with Tamra would not lend itself to that. She was asked about Tamra saying she's on the spectrum. Shannon kind of gives like a PC, like very like classy political response and doesn't really comment on that. She also talks about Gina. So she says she's shocked that Gina's been the most loyal out of everyone and she feels bad for every unkind thing she did to Gina in the past, which I was surprised by that, but that was funny. She does in the interview, she does take a lot of accountability. So I will give that to her. So the hosts like Nick and them, they discuss with Shannon why John Jansen and Alexis are like so hell-bent on taking her down. And Shannon looks at the camera and asks Alexis a question. How many minutes go by every morning when you wake up with John before my name is mentioned? Ooh, okay. And then Nick Viall goes on to call John a bully, which I don't always agree with him, but he's right about that. So it seems like Shannon is, kind of moving along and, on her healing journey, as Whitney would say. Now, Shannon also is saying that she's unsure if she's going to return to the Real Housewives of Orange County for another season. Shannon, come on. Shannon has, like, okay, this season was bad for, like, this, Shannon went through a lot. And I still don't think this was her worst season. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion. But the whole, like, David Beador saga and the way that played out and all the aftermath of it and everything, like, I Shannon's coming back. Shannon's like that kind of Kyle Richards in that way. This is like the one thing they have in common is that Kyle, every fucking season, Kyle Richards is like, I'm not doing this anymore. This is my last season and I hate you all. Like that's Kyle every season. So I just really think Shannon's kind of pulling one of those. Like maybe it's like a negotiating tactic with Bravo, but Shannon's coming back. Okay? In my opinion. But basically, she says this is Shannon's direct quote. And again, this is why I think it's a negotiation tactic. She says, it depends on who I would be on the season with. And I'm not saying that in a threatening way. Maybe you are. I experienced some time with people that were very unhealthy for me to be around, Beador tells People magazine. Basically, if Bravo asks Alexis and John back, then you know, I think Shannon would take that as like they're asking her to walk away. I don't think that they would do that. I think they know they've got like, you know, the goose with the golden egg when it comes to Shannon because God, she's just never ending entertainment and messiness every season. So, you know, I think they would keep her over Alexis and John, who I could do without. And I think a lot of people could do without. So, yeah. Meanwhile, on the finale, we saw Matt and Shannon kind of get into that little tiff that was so random and for no reason, and it was so like it was such a classic Shannon moment. Some people are mad at her about it. I kind of think it was hilarious from both ends, but they're fine, guys. Like I think people took it a little too seriously. I think Shannon misunderstood him. She had her little mini meltdown, as Shannon often does when she gets herself all riled up. And Katie Janela commented on the Bravo investigators post and said, my husband, in caps, loves Shannon, period. Still, and then a heart. So I think it was just a dumb moment where something got misconstrued and they are fine now. Okay. In other Orange County news, Tamra is commenting on the whole Brandy Caroline Manzo situation. So if you didn't hear, I'm going to kind of combine these stories, but basically, Brandy Glanville tweeted, I think this was kind of like right after I recorded last week. I don't think I included this in last week's episode, but if I did, I'm sorry, but I'm still going to go back to it just so we can talk about the update. So Brandy Glanville tweeted, happy Sunday fun day. It's been almost 2 years now since a lying, short, redheaded, closeted old lesbian ruined my life. Girl, lean into the rainbow. It's a beautiful space. When you come out, your family will be able to speak their own obvious truths. Okay, so obviously Brandy is claiming that not only is she claiming that Caroline is gay and trying to out her, which is obviously very wrong, but she is also claiming, sort of kind of using that as almost like a excuse. Like, oh, well, you actually were into the touching from me. It was consensual. You know, we were doing that together. But since you're in the closet, you're making it out to be a sexual assault because you don't want your family to know that you're not straight. Like, I think that's what Brandy is saying, which I mean, I don't even have time today to start talking about why this is the most problematic tweet maybe ever, but like it's up there. Let's just say that. But listen, Brandy is Brandy's Brandy, but she's also just never going to stop, you know, claiming she's never going to stop trying to say that this was not a sexual assault. And, you know, we don't have the footage. We don't know exactly what happened. So, you know, in Brandy's mind, it's like it's her word against mine. There are definitely some people out there who are on Brandy's side and think that that is the truth. There are a lot of people who are like, what the fuck, Brandy? Like, why are you tweeting this? She's not helping herself by tweeting this. Let's say that. That is for sure. Now, the other thing, though, is that Tamra spoke on this and basically says that Vicky allegedly sent Tamra a picture of Brandy Glanville on top of Caroline Manzo, who was trying to push her off of her. Okay. So Tamra is basically backing up Caroline Manzo's claim, which is like, okay, now we have another layer to the story. So it's like, holy shit, the amount of like she said going on in this situation. Like, we've had Caroline's side, who was very kind of detailed in her description of everything that happened that night. Then we've had all the housewives who were filming, who almost all of them, not all, but almost, sorry, but almost all the ones that were there in Morocco have come out in support of Brandy. And then now Brandy's trying to make these claims that Caroline, was consenting and was into it with her, which you can't, like, I don't know. I don't think Brandy should be saying that. Nor do I think she can know that. Like, even if Caroline was like drunk and let's just say Caroline was drinking and maybe like for a second was like laughing along with it and then changed her mind. She can change her mind at any moment, or somebody could give like signals that they might not seem like they're in distress, but they might actually be in distress, even if, you know what I mean? So that's why it's such an area where, like, I don't know. I just think Brandy needs to shut the hell up about this, and stop talking. Like, she's not going to save, I don't know what she thinks is going to happen. She's not going to magically like save her career. So there's that. And then, so now Tamra is saying that she saw a picture where it looked like Caroline Manzo was trying to push her off of her. Now, Tamra wasn't there. So a lot of people are like, Tamra should just not be speaking on it. Cause like, even like a still picture, not a video, like how can you tell just from that, etc. So there's all these things going back and forth, but it does seem to validate Caroline's side of the story. So, okay. So in other news, Katie's son, Katie's son, I'm so sorry. Katie's daughter, Kaylee, I don't know why I said son, basically did like like an Instagram or like TikTok video where she was kind of talking about everything that went on in the finale with Heather Dubrow and like, Emily and them kind of trying to imply that Kaylee was lying about that whole like Heather is mean story. But Kaylee basically does this video and oh, sorry, it's not an Instagram video. It's like an interview that she did all about the Real Housewives podcast. And she gets emotional and she opens up about being called a liar, and she starts to cry, and it's sad. Like, I actually feel bad for her. I do think she's telling the truth. I think she went over to babysit and the boys have probably just heard Emily talking shit about Heather with Shane, which, to be honest, I don't think is that big of a deal. I think kids, you can't protect them from everything. And sometimes you think they're in the other room playing and wrestling around and doing whatever, and they might overhear something. I'm sorry, but that's normal life. Anyone who says it's not, I think is naive maybe. But yeah, so Kaylee, they said something. She responded. Yes, she brought it up on camera. So fine. But I don't think that she was lying about it. And also, Heather is kind of mean. So there's that. But, anyways. So she got emotional and she basically was like, it's really hard, like people saying that I'm lying about this when like I didn't even, like, you can tell Kaylee didn't even think this was a big deal. She thought it was just kind of like a funny story that these two boys said that, and that she was like, yeah, she's been mean to my mom too. And they kind of like laughed about it. Like, I don't think she expected it to turn into such a big thing. But this is maybe why when you join a show, you need to go back and watch all the old seasons, because maybe Kaylee and Katie, like, I don't know, maybe they did watch them all. I have no idea. But I just feel like if you watch them all and you see how Heather Dubrow is, she ain't letting anything like this go. And she's like a dog with a damn bone. And she'll make the smallest thing into the biggest thing to cover all her own stuff that she doesn't want out there. Like, I don't know. It was just, yeah. But I'm still Team Katie. I like how she stood up to Heather in the finale. I think she's a good addition and I want her to stay. So take that, Heather. Okay. Now, Jen's Ryan, has been responding to things on social media. So he reposted a after show clip of Tamra Judge basically saying that, Ryan, I guess Ryan has immunity now because he's ratting people out or he's telling on them or giving them information. And he reposted it and wrote in caps, more lies. I'm ratting people out. Who's the rat? And then there's like a gif with like a pointing finger pointing at Tamra. He also commented, lies, lies, lies. I understand the premise of the show and being seen as controversial, and I'm actually okay with it. With that said, it is absolutely not okay to make up bold-faced lies that affect my life, my family, my career, etc. I want to make it clear I have never been involved with and or worked in this timeshare business or anything related to timeshares, and I was never named in any lawsuit regarding timeshares. This is complete BS, and this is not okay. At what point does somebody hold this woman accountable? Vicky replied and said, the only way you make her accountable is to do what Jim Bellino did. And then Jim Bellino replies and says, Tamra clearly, and again, no one can spell Tamra's name. Tamara clearly did not, that's how he spells it, does not learn from previous experiences. More bullshit rumors. At some point, Ryan will run out of patience like I did. Okay. He also spelled patience wrong, so just for the record. Not that anyways, so yeah. Tamra, girl, you gotta stop talking about legal things. Like, you really need to stop. And this is what happens when you make other people's storylines into your storylines, especially when they're ones like this. Like, it's not like it's not like the rest of the cast didn't comment and react and, film a scene with Jen and talk about right. Like Gina was pretty straight up like, do you want to stay with this guy? He's a red flag. This is going to bring down your life. Like Gina was pretty forthcoming, but like the only one getting heat is Tamra. And that's because she's almost like making it into her thing. Like the first of all, she's way too happy about it. Like she doesn't seem like she's there as a supportive friend, which like that's how like Gina, Katie, other people came off. She's like wearing the FBI hat. She's like, told you so. Everyone should listen to me. I'm always right. And then on top of that, she's making comments about the legalities of it. That's just not good. Like you gotta know where there's a line, Tamra Judge, and stop at that line. Like, period. Okay. What else do we have from OC? I think that's everything from OC World. Um, OC and Salt Lake City, like just, round of applause. What great seasons they're having. Unlike New York. All right, let's talk about New York. Speaking of that. So, as we all know, Brynn made very offensive, problematic, controversial comments in her confessional, talking about, how she doesn't want Uba to come off as an angry Black woman. And then maybe, her boyfriend's not going to want to marry her because of that or whatever. Okay. So, a lot of people were very offended by that, rightfully so. And Brynn has issued a statement via her Instagram story, create mode, and a statement and kind of a non-apology, which someone DM'd me and apparently she put it up and then took it down. So I guess she did not get the feedback from her apology that she was hoping. But here's what it said. So I sat in shock this week as off-camera interactions in the Hamptons were conveyed without context. To see my intentions twisted and my words misrepresented flat out scares me. I am deeply sorry if I overstepped that night in the Hamptons. I am beyond sorry as this was never my intention. Okay, so I'm sorry, I can't even finish. I have to call her out right off the bat. It's not about the off-camera interactions. You said it on camera in the confessional. Like, yes, I get she's referring to like Uba was talking about their conversation and Uba was talking about how she didn't like, Brynn kind of, policing the way that Uba expresses her emotions and, telling her the way that she should react to things, etc. Which Uba has every right to be annoyed about that, because it's like, stop, you're not a producer of the show. You're a cast member. Stop trying to produce everybody. If Uba wants to express her emotions in whatever way, she's a grown adult and she can do that. Like, just leave her alone. So, and on top of that, if people see her as like the quote unquote angry black woman, that's their prejudice and that's their problem. That's not Uba's problem. Okay. So, anyways, um, and then she says it's off camera. No, people were mad about what you said in the confessional. You said, oh, I just don't want Uba to be seen as the angry black woman. I just want her, like Oliver, to want to marry her. Like, you said that on camera. So, and if you were willing to say that on camera in the confessional, then yeah, I believe you said it behind closed doors and said all that stuff that Uba said you did. And I don't think it was taken out of context. I'm sure there was a larger, longer conversation to it, but you still said it. And Uba being upset by it after reflecting on it the next day, and Aaron even having that reaction to it, of all people, that shows that, I'm sorry, you did say it, and I don't think it was taken out of context. Okay, let me continue. Let me continue with the non-apology. This episode was made to appear as though I brought up this stereotype on my own and out of nowhere, which is not the case. The truth is, quote unquote, angry black woman was brought up by Uba last year in Anguilla. In a highly charged fourth wall moment in Anguilla, after the incident with Aaron's sunglasses, Uba spoke directly to the camera, "Don't you dare edit me to look like an angry black woman." Okay, what does that have to do with this? Like, that doesn't, nothing in that, I just read you guys that paragraph. Zero things in that paragraph absolve Bryn and or relate or have any or are in any way an excuse for what Bryn said in her confessional. And that was a year ago. So yes, Uba can say that, but like, you sort of like policing her and telling her how to react and be on camera, not okay. After Anguilla, Uba and I frequently discuss this harmful stereotype at length. As a biracial woman, I will never know what it's like to fully walk in Uba's shoes. I have experienced racism from childhood to corporate America, and it broke my heart to see my friend devastated by the backlash she received online. I always offered love and support, and when she asked me for advice, I gave it. For the record, it was always mutual. Uba was an incredible friend to me and always supported me through difficult experiences. During that off-camera night in the Hamptons, we both spoke candidly about our fears and triggers, as we always had. We hugged, said we loved each other, and promised to do everything in our power to help one another. I told Uba that everything she wants for herself, I want that for her too, and she wished the same for me. I'm not sure what shifted after that touching moment, but I deeply regret, and I am sorry if I overstepped. Uba needed a friend to listen to the thoughts and fears which she expressed that night. She didn't need someone to repeat them back to her. I hope the powerful fourth wall moment that happened in Anguilla well before the Hamptons will be shown at this year's reunion, so that this long-standing, nearly 2-year-old issue can be finally addressed openly. A constructive conversation is much needed to clear the air and provide context and closure for everyone involved. Okay. So I guess Bryn is saying that if they show the Anguilla fourth wall break, it will give context to her confession or to her conversation with Uba. Again, I don't see that. Like, I see what she's reaching for, but I think it's a far reach. Like, she's trying to say that since we talked about that a year ago in Anguilla, and since I saw Uba, you know, say that to the cameramen or producers or whoever, I, was just like being fearfully protective of Uba because I know that's an insecurity of hers. Okay, but here's the problem is now you are saying in confessional that you don't want her to come off that way because you want Oliver to marry her. That's the thing that most people were reacting to. That's not just like for the show. Like, that's like a real life thing. Like, that's like you saying her white boyfriend isn't going to want to marry her if she acts this way. So that's a little different. Also, like, it's one thing if Uba had a moment where she got mad and then she said that to production, like, don't edit me in whatever way, which maybe was just her saying, you better show the whole interaction with Aaron and I and not like, cut some part out of it So it looks like I just snapped on Aaron because, when you watch the whole thing, you see why Uba gets mad at Aaron in that moment because Aaron was also being like, Aaron basically started that whole thing, right? So, like, I don't even know, like, what's the full context of that? So just because Uba said that, like, that doesn't make it's your place now to come in and like police her feelings and how she reacts in situations. And you also, like, it's not on Bryn. Like, Bryn should be like defending Uba in the sense of like, if the audience comes after her and is trying to call her that, like, she should be calling that out as a member of the show. Like, she should be saying, we all on the show get mad. And it's unfair that maybe Uba gets more flack for it because of the color of her skin, right? Like, we all get mad and yell and get what, and if anything, Bryn's been feeding into that because this whole season, she's the one who keeps telling Uba to like, oh, like, we have to use our words and we're sophisticated New York women. We don't stoop down to that level of like, da da da. Like, and then she keeps making fun of Uba's accent, making fun of like how she maybe misspeaks sometimes and stuff like that. Like, Bryn is the one who's been reinforcing this like problematic stereotype of Uba. If the audience buys into it, in my opinion, a lot of it is because of Bryn. Like, Bryn's feeding into it this season. And the fucked up thing is, like, based on this apology, I don't even know if Bryn sees it. I don't know. She's kind of like giving Karen vibes. I'm sorry, but it's true. She's a little Karen-ish. She drives me nuts. Okay. I mean, you all know I'm not a fan of her for my own reasons. But God, is she really taking just a nosedive this season? I don't know if I've ever seen anything like this. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen, I mean, I have, but it's been a while, but just to see a cast member go from like so highly liked to such a dive, it's really unbelievable to watch. And she just keeps making it worse for herself. Now, I've also been told that she deleted this. There was a lot of people tweeting it and calling it a non-apology, you know, and people just calling out the most simple thing from the beginning where she says off camera and people are like, no, 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 it's not the off camera part. It's the part where you talk about her boyfriend, etc. Yeah. So people calling her out on that. So maybe that's why she took it down. I'm not sure. Now, somebody reposted it on their Instagram, like a Bravo account. And Sai basically replied to the apology with a GIF. And it's like somebody reading something on their phone and then like, throwing their head back laughing, as in like laughing at Bryn's apology. So Sai is making her feelings clear as well. And I'm kind of here for it. I'm kind of coming around on Sai, even though this whole season just sucks in general. But anyways, yeah. So it's not looking good. The season's not looking good. Bryn's not looking good. It's all around just not looking good for RHONY. And I mean, they must feel it. Potomac's having a good season. OC and SLC are having amazing seasons. It's like they're just like over there in the background. No one cares. You know, if it's like if I don't put up an SLC or OC roundup fast enough, I get so many messages and DMs. Nobody asks about New York. Like, no one cares. I don't know what else to say. Okay. What else do we need to talk about? We need to talk about Vanderpump Rules. So Lala is, as usual, getting herself into trouble by talking too much. So recently she put up a podcast and then took it down, re-put it up, edited it, took certain things out, and changed the name. So let's talk about that for a minute. So according to the subreddit r/Vanderpump Rules, and thank you to user Additional War 8759 who did a little summary and who discovered this. Basically, Lala's podcast comes out on Wednesday. This is what they wrote. They wrote, so interesting. Lala's podcast comes out on Wednesday, but I was surprised to see it came out on Tuesday. It was originally called the one about raspy voices, clogged milk ducts, and VPR rumors. So last night I clipped the two VPR related things and then recapped them below. Well, then this morning that episode was deleted, and now it's called the one about clogged milk ducts and RHOC constipation. And the part one I recapped above is now edited out of the episode. Okay, so this is what they recapped that was now edited out. All right, so basically it's Lala talking about Sheena and Katie's new relationship. Okay, so Lala talks about how, Sheena was the one that confirmed Katie Maloney's new relationship. And basically, Sheena told Lala that she accidentally confirmed it because she was out and Katie and her new boyfriend were there. And I guess, Sheena was like met the guy, etc. And they hadn't confirmed it yet because he's going through a messy divorce or something and they got to keep it quiet. And then Lala says, and I'm like, oh, that sounds like something I was called a whore in the back of an alley for, but who's remembering? Okay, Lala. And then Lala says, but Sheena being clueless, I love her. She lives in the clouds and doesn't realize it. Sheena on her podcast talking about what a great experience she had with him. Meanwhile, it's not been confirmed and she just fully confirms it. And then Lala addresses a rumor that's been going around saying that basically there's something out there, I guess, where it's being said that Ariana and I, basically the reason production's being held up on Vanderpump Rules is because Ariana and I are wanting a lot of money. And although that is a rumor, I like it. There's literally been not one conversation, but let's go with that. That sounds pretty gangster. So yeah, I guess Lala is denying that rumor, kind of making fun of Sheena for, putting out the other for putting out the other one and accidentally confirming Katie's relationship. Now, the whole thing about Lala commenting on like, oh, I was called a whore for that, etc. I'm sorry, Lala, but it's not the same. I mean, Katie shouldn't have called you a whore at the time because she just shouldn't have done that, but that was wrong. However, it's not the same situation. It's really not. Like, I know Katie's man has lots of red flags and there's lots of people coming out talking about him, but your thing with Rand was like he left his wife for you. I know Lala likes to rewrite history and she's all about this revisionist history, but this was not like Rand was divorced, going through his divorce, and then you guys met. I know Lala wants us all to believe that so badly, even though we pretty much saw the opposite on social media if we all go back to that time. But the truth is that you started banging him, I'm sorry, and he left his family for you. That is what happened. And then Lala acted like an absolute monster on social media, posting pictures with Rand's kids when his ex-wife had asked her not to, saying like talking shit about her on social media, including saying that the reason that he wasn't with her anymore is because she wasn't like keeping him satisfied. Like, I'm sorry, Lala, that all happened. You can blame alcohol and drugs and whatever all you want, but that's what happened. Okay. She was a complete monster to Rand's ex. And yes, I get that they're friends now and that there's probably Rand was probably playing them against each other and he definitely had the biggest fault in all of this. I get all that. But like, let's not pretend that that's the same as like Katie's dating a guy who's divorced. Because everything that I've heard, including the women who have come out, speaking against this guy, have even said like in their like posts on Reddit and other places, oh, when he was married or when I was dating him, I didn't know he was married at the time. Like, it seems to be pretty universally acknowledged that he's not married anymore and that he is divorced or separated. Like, if he wasn't, that would have like all these other exes and people that he's fucked around with are coming out. Why wouldn't the wife? Like, it's just, I'm sorry, it's not the exact same situation. As much as Lala wants it to be so badly, it's just not the same situation. Lala wants everything to be the same. She wants like the fact that she moved out of Rand's house. She wants that to be the same as Ariana and Tom. It's not the same. Ariana owns the house. Like she conveniently ignores key details and context to make herself look like a victim. And it's a really like fucked up thing that she does over and over again that she needs to stop doing. Okay. So, on that note, there's also the story of Katie. So, there's been all these people, and I talked about it last week, coming out, saying like the guy that Katie's with is an asshole. He talks shit about women. He cheated on his ex wife. He cheats on girlfriends. He's been texting people while he's texting Katie, like he's already cheated on her. So, somebody sent Katie a message about it and they said, and this is thanks to Vanderpod recaps, and they said, you might want to ask Nick who he went to Mexico with in September. Katie replied, said, yes, I'm aware I was also dating and talking to other people in the month of September, as Nick and I were just friends at that point and not in a relationship or exclusively dating. I ask you and anyone else to consider that you don't know the timeline or full story of how Nick and I came into a relationship. I'm very sorry that your experience left you hurt. I have been there. Dating is treacherous. I mean, I think that's a good response. I think it reminds people of what a lot of people online need to be reminded of, is that like you're not actually friends with Katie and you don't really know her, and she's a 40-year-old adult woman. If she wants to date a guy who's a walking red flag and who's maybe an asshole or all these other things, she has that right to date him. And there's nothing that anyone online is going to say that's going to change it. Probably. People need to live their life and make their own mistakes and figure things out on their own. That's even true in the real world. Like you can even go and tell your best friends stuff about their man, and 9 times out of 10, they'll probably stay with him and they won't break up until, you know, they finally can't take it anymore. Maybe some new evidence or something comes to light that they just can't deny or can't reason away or try to make up an excuse for, or until things become unbearable in their own firsthand experience. Like people just need to figure things out on their own. And I'm kind of getting a little like, with all the posts, like there's just like all these people coming out. Oh, I dated Nick. I texted with him. He was this, he was that. Yeah, all that's probably true. I believe all those people. And I think he's a red flag. And I think if Katie could snap herself out of it and break up with him now, she would save herself a lot of trouble. But the truth is that she's in love, or thinks she is. She has all these feelings. Right now, he's able to talk himself out of this. She's falling for it, and she's going to have to pay the consequences and no one else. The consequence will be she may probably, most likely, get her heart broken. And that's it. That's life. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, she's an adult. I don't know. The amount of women in the world that are dating walking red flags is like, it's hard for me to also care about it that much because I don't know the guy and like he's never been on the show. Not that like I know people because they've been on a show, but like he's not involved in the world of the show yet. So it's like I'm not invested in the relationship. Like I haven't seen the relationship. Like maybe once we've watched it on the show for a while, there might be some investment. But as of now, I just don't feel like I just don't care that much, to be frank. Okay. Meanwhile, Ariana is booked and busy. She is going to be headlining the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade with Jimmy Fallon and Chloe Bailey. I don't know what headlining means, but they'll be doing something. She's also landed a role on Will Trent season 3 and a guest role. And she's got a new DSW shoe line. So good job, Ari. You keep those checks coming in. We love that. We also have news from the world of Real Housewives of Miami because Alexia and Todd Nipola file new docs stalling their divorce. So it is up in the air. So I'm not sure what that means, but I guess they're trying to work it out. And again, this just kind of supports what I was just saying about Katie and her new guy, which is that no matter how old you are, there are going to be women around you who are still going to be dating toxic guys and ignoring red flags. That's just life. I'm not saying it's okay and that we shouldn't all try to learn from these things and evolve and stuff, but sometimes we listen to our feelings and hearts and we don't listen to our brains when we should. But either way, Alexis and Todd are trying to work it out. I just hope that he, you know, I get the impression that he's the type of guy who would use divorce as sort of like a threat to get Alexis to fall into line. Like she's a strong-willed person. She has a very strong personality. And I do think that maybe, I don't know if he could handle that. And I feel like he went ahead because she was blindsided by that divorce. Like when it came out, she did that video with Marisol. She was bawling her eyes out. It seemed very genuine and like she didn't had no idea that was coming. And now, it seems like they're in this kind of like push pull place of will they, won't they stay together. And I feel like he's trying to get the power in the relationship. Like, I think he wants to like control her a bit. And I feel like, there are people that use divorce as a very real threat against their partner in order to get them to comply and fall into line. And I just really feel like Todd is that type. And, I hope Alexia, I just keep wanting to call her Alexis, sorry, but I hope Alexia doesn't like change who she is or suppress her emotions or her true feelings and opinions, just to like keep this guy happy. Like I just hope she's not like walking on eggshells for this guy because I could just see that happening. Okay, so what other news do we have? Because we had a couple other little things. Oh yeah, Lindsay had her baby shower. Kyle and Amanda were there. There was no pictures that I saw of them like together, but again, Amanda's blocked me, so maybe I just didn't see that. But there's certainly group pictures. Some people are speculating that Amanda might be pregnant based on her choice of clothing and outfit, but I don't like to speculate on stuff like that. But let's just say I no longer think divorce is the next big announcement. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. So congratulations, Lindsay. Paige was not there either, which, I mean, whatever, take that as you will. I guess either you could, if you want to give Paige a good edit, we could say she's not being fake. If we want to give her a bad edit, we could say, why wouldn't you be there when Sierra, Amanda, and everybody else was? But whatever. It looked like a good event. There wasn't really any like pictures with Lindsay's guy, but I'm sure since it was like a very media type of baby shower, he probably stayed out of it, which I kind of like that about him. In other news, it is a wrap on Jill Zarin's daughter, Ali Shapiro's engagement. So I think I covered this on one of the episodes on here, which was that Jill Zarin's daughter got engaged and 2 months later, they're already calling it off. But basically, it says after much reflection, this is from Jill's camp, they have made the difficult decision to end their engagement. And as a family, we're focused on supporting Ali through this time. We appreciate your understanding and request privacy on this very private matter. Wow. I mean, I wonder what happened. But again, at the same time, like, Katie and Nick's relationship, I'm not that invested in it because I haven't really seen it. I don't really know much about them or how Ali is now, but there's people speculating online, but I haven't heard anything like concrete as to what happened or why they so suddenly called it off. But speaking of breakups, Teddy announced today that she's getting divorced. I was pretty shocked by this. Like this just happened today. She released this on a Saturday and listen, I don't care for Teddy. I'm not a Teddy fan. I really don't like Teddy, nor am I like invested in Teddy's life and relationship. But I have to admit, I was shocked by this because I just feel like Teddy, it just seemed like her and Edwin had it seemed like one of the more, solid, healthy relationships. Granted, I guess we didn't get to see it that much. And it's been a few years since it's been on our TV in a real way. And maybe when we did watch it, they were, like all marriages, there's like hills and valleys. So maybe they were in like a good phase and that was when the marriage was good and things can change. Like that happens. People change, people grow apart, start to have issues. Who knows? I haven't heard anything in terms of like the reason for it, but let's read Teddy's statement. She says, after a great deal of care and consideration, I have made the difficult decision to file for divorce. My priority is my children and ensuring that every care is taken with their privacy and well-being throughout this new chapter. Making a public statement is not something I wanted to do, but in an effort to protect my family from undue speculation and rumors, I felt being open, honest, and vulnerable was the best path forward. I don't know what speculation and rumors there were. Like I said, I posted this on my story. And I got a lot of people being like, was there speculations? What were the rumors? Like, nothing that I heard. Maybe that's because no one cares about Teddy, but I didn't hear anything. Maybe this is her getting ahead of something that's going to come out later. Like, who knows whether it's like cheating. Maybe he's seen somewhere. Maybe pictures look like, I have no idea, but I have heard nothing. I haven't seen anything on Reddit, Twitter, nowhere. Or maybe she's just making the statement because she assumes people will maybe start speculating that they're not together, and then that would come out. I don't know who would speculate that, because it's not like we see them on our TV in a relationship. Or maybe it's just like online sleuths, like, oh, Teddy hasn't posted pictures of her and her husband in a while. But again, does anyone care enough about Teddy to do that? Do they? Maybe. I mean, they've got a pretty big podcast. She must have some fans. Maybe she's just trying to be like Kyle. Like, oh, Kyle's getting divorced. I want to do it too. I don't know. Is it too soon to make jokes? She's got to do everything Kyle does. Okay. All right. Well, you know what? Even though I don't like Teddy, I do feel bad, because I always do when it's like, you don't want anyone's marriage to fall apart unless like they're with like an abuser or something really bad like that. And they have kids, so I do feel for them, and like, it just sucks. It really does seem like no one in Beverly Hills can make their marriage work, eh? Well, all the best to them, and I hope they can have, a conscious uncoupling, as Gwyneth would say. All right, everyone, you are now in the know for everything Bravo. See you next time. Bye. Thanks for listening, everyone. Your support really means everything to me, and this show wouldn't be possible without you, the listeners. So please, if you enjoyed the podcast, leave a 5-star rating and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. For more, you can join my Patreon, patreon.com/Bravo and And for $5 a month, you'll get 4 extra podcast episodes a month. You'll also get early releases of Bravo Paper episodes and more. Please also subscribe to my YouTube channel at The Bravo Papers, and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, at Bravo and Botox, and at The Bravo Papers. If you'd like to buy me a coffee, you can at buymeacoffee.com/Bravo and Botox. Send your love through some much needed caffeine. And any guest that was on today's episode will be in the show notes, all their social media and contact information. So thank you so much, everyone. Keep overanalyzing Bravo.